So it's a day after the Gralloch, the UK's biggest gravel event and a qualifying event for the UCI Gravel World Champs later this year. Nearly 3,000 people took part in the race across a range of age categories and an elite field for men and women from around the world. But my race was slightly derailed by this. I found the only nail on one of the rockiest, most hardcore courses I've ever ridden. But more on that later and my Enve Mog setup. So yeah, the event was fantastic, really well organised by the organisers. It's the third year it's been here, my first experience here. I've been to Dumfries and Galloway on the bike before, but racing it is very different. And in a nutshell, it's one of the toughest, roughest, most hardcore gravel events I've ever done. These tracks are just littered in boulders and sharp flints, all trying to punch your tyres and destroy your carbon rims. It's just a battering ride, both on the bike and the body. And after the halfway point, my arms turned to jelly from just a constant pounding. It was relentless.
So a quick recap on my race experience. I had a great start, near the front of my age group, and held on to a top 20 through the opening road and gravel climb. But going full gas on cold legs is brutal. Straight from rest to max heart rate in minutes, demanding a lot from muscles that hadn't warmed up. On the first major climb, I tried to settle into a steady rhythm, letting faster rides go past and focusing on the 100 kilometers still to come. Cresting the summit, I was relieved to catch a breather on the descent until disaster struck. A nail had gone straight into my rear tyre, and it took me ages to get this thing out, but eventually I was able to plug the tyre with no air loss, but in the process lost a lot of places, as I can see from the timing split. So I pushed on and tried to make up lost places, but riding harder than I had planned took its toll, and by the halfway point I was paying the price. The relentless climbing, the rough course and the rising heat all started to take a toll on my body. The second 50 kilometers was much slower than the first 50 kilometers, and any hope of a strong finish gave way to a simple goal: just get to the finish line. And getting to the finish line was not guaranteed on such a brutal, savage course. I've never seen so many people by the side of the trail either fixing punctures or later in the race walking broken bikes back towards the finish line. I heard stories afterwards of riders walking tens of miles or catching a lift with local spectators back to the expo. The attrition rate was truly through the roof, and given this, I was very happy and relieved to roll across the finish line some 4 hours after I started. And no, I did not qualify for the UCI Gravel World Champs later this year, as was a target for many people entering this race.
But yeah, racing is hard, especially on such a hard course. And compared to the tracker which I rode 2 weeks ago, which is a similar distance and amount of climbing, the tracker was a piece of cake by comparison. This was way harder and probably one of the hardest gravel events I've done so far of this sort of distance. So my big takeaway from the event is make sure you're fit, make sure you have some big volume tyres and some burly tyres as well. Make sure you know how to fit a tubeless plug to a hole when you get a puncture. Quite a few riders are using rim inserts, which I can see being a benefit here given how tough it was. And tyre pressure is a tricky one because I freaked out by a number of people puncturing on the recon, and my own experience doing a recon on the day before the race, so I went higher on the tyre pressure than I normally would to minimise the risk of a puncture, which is a sound thing to do, but I paid a price in how much harder the tyres were and how much more bumping there was and just no suspension. And I'll be honest, I would have loved to have a suspension fork on the bike for that course. I think there's a course where a suspension fork, in my opinion, for me anyway, would make a big difference, and my arms wouldn't turn to jelly by the end of the race. So my first race on my recently built Enve Mog, and I was very happy with it indeed. No complaints at all. And the bike didn't let me down. The only issue I had was the nail that went through the rear tyre, but that was very unlucky. Nothing I could have done about that. And the front wheel through axle going loose at about the 2/3 distance. My own fault, but definitely a reminder to make sure all the bolts and everything, all the nuts on your bike are done up tight, because the course was so brutal, it just shook that through axle loose. So definitely want to check before a race. That's my fault, my bad. But apart from that, the bike was faultless. Tyres, these Michelin powered gravel tyres in a 47, but actually measure 50 on these wheels. Fantastic, durable, nice beefy sidewalls, good suppleness, compliance as well, at about 25 psi, a bit lower in the front. Nice fast rolling tread pattern, seem to cope really well. No cuts on the tyre at all from the flints and sharp rocks out there. So good rolling speed, plenty of grips in the drifty wide corners. So yeah, very happy indeed. The SRAM Red Explore group set, yeah, fantastic. All the gears I needed, although the first time I spun out a 40-10 on some of the faster sections, I wasn't like spinning out madly, but turning quite happily that big gear. So I could, I guess, go to 42, but it's only a few times that happened. But I'm very happy that it was a 40, 46 for some of the steeper climbs. Quite a few riders had a mullet setup with a 1052 on the back, but possibly overkill for this course. I didn't feel overgeared on the 46, 40 lowest gear on the bike, so no issues there. As you can see, I'm not running a chain device, but despite that, the chain did not fall off. I had no issues with the chain staying on the bike. Nice clutch mechanism to keep the chain nice and tight on there, and this thing bomb-proof as well. And the other thing I really like about this red group set, and why I'm a big fan of this red group set, are the hoods. Both the ergonomics, really nice shape, really fit the hands well when you're bombing down a rough, rocky descent. And then the lightness of the lever action is just fantastic. Genuine one-finger braking, which really helps when you are bombing down those rough descents. The bike bouncing around, you've got more fingers wrapped around the handlebar and plenty of power from one finger braking. So I'm a real big fan of that as well. So yeah, the group set, faultless, didn't have any issues, and I put some dry lube on before, some Silka Super Secret chain lube, and yeah, chain was dry at the end, but not making any noises, no squeaks or creaks to worry about. The wheels, yeah, the Zip 303 Firecrest wheels, I saw a lot of broken rims at the end of the race, some properly exploded carbon rims and some cracked rims, but these, I had a few telltale signs of rim rock impacts, but the rims held up fine, still true. Yeah, so absolutely bomb-proof in my experience. This new WTB Solano saddle, my first experience of riding this saddle in an event, and yeah, very comfy indeed. Nice amount of padding at the back, quite a short, stubby design to get on the nose. Nice bit of padding on the nose as well, and that central channel for pressure relieving. So yeah, really, really comfy saddle. And the Enve AR one-piece handlebar, yeah, it's really nice to get super aero. I've got the bonus buttons on the red shifters for shifting when I'm sort of crouch low and trying to minimize my drag as much as possible, as much as I can. And then the down tube storage, yeah, fantastic. Having my tools in a tube pump in there and not hanging off the back of the saddle in a saddle bag. Easy to get to in a moment's notice. Very convenient, loads of space in there as well. So yeah, the bike was fantastic and definitely turned a few heads as well. So, and I think it looked fantastic. Now it's covered in dust, but probably time to go and give it a wash, I think. Yeah, I learned a few lessons, but I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. Now I can say I enjoyed it. I've just been out for the 50k Sportive on a Sunday after the race before I head home, get in the van for a 5-hour drive south. So the event was great, the atmosphere fantastic. I really enjoy these events for the social aspect as well, meeting people from all walks of life and just chatting to people about their experience of this event and other events I might have done and where they come from, and talk about bikes and equipment of course as well. So, and I had some really good conversations and meetings with people over the course of their weekend. If I met you, then yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you. I really enjoyed your time and thanks for coming to say hi over the weekend. So yeah, quite a weekend. I'm feeling very tired now, but I'm gonna go and get the bike a wash over at the bike wash station, get a pizza and maybe a alcohol-free beer, and then drive home. But the Gralloch, my first time, I highly recommend it if you want a really tough, but ultimately rewarding and enjoyable, yeah, dare I say it, enjoyable gravel event. And a UCI qualifier event as well. I didn't qualify at all, but lots of people here qualified. And there aren't many ways you can ride a UCI World Championship event this side of a pro contract. So that definitely adds a certain appeal to the event as well. But even if you have no interest in qualifying, It's still a great event, a great crack. So big shout out to the organisers for putting on a great event, and I might see you here next year. And if you took part, drop a comment down below. Let me know how you got on, your bike, your body. Do you qualify? Love to hear from you as always. But that's all for today. I'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.